Hello, this Tech Museum. Welcome back to a very special video because in today's one we're going to be interviewing Erik Burnham. Now, Erik Burnham has done so much for the TMNT community in terms of giving us some of the best TMNT comic books and also stories. He's done works on the TMNT, the Samurai Adventures, the 2012 series, what else? The RW stuff with the Armageddon Alliance, the Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan, the Secret History of the Foot Clan, and so much more. So, yeah, will you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Uh, gosh, that's is a good question. I mean, that's the kind of question that's very easy on the surface, but then, when you get hit with it, you draw a blank. I'm a writer, I'm a cartoonist. I've been doing comics for oh, 24 years now. I've been getting paid for about 15. Before that, I did bunches of different things. I was in retail. I managed a video store. I worked in radio, and yeah, I mean, really, that was it. Radio, writing, and retail were my three jobs. Lived all over the western half of the United States, Minnesota, Arizona, Washington, and Alaska, and not seen a whole lot of the eastern half of the country, although I do love New York when I get to visit there. And every time I've tried to go overseas, I have had some massive unfortunate luck that winds me canceling the trip. So I've never actually gotten to use my passport. These are the basic Charlie Brown bad luck things that happen to me that are minor, but annoying. And I mean, other than that, I mean, I live in the middle of the country, so I read a lot, read and write a lot, and sketch and doodle, and try to stay out of people's way. Not much there. It's really a boring but happy life.
Um, because you most well known for like writing niche horror comics, how do you how do you get into like the business of writing niche horror comics?
Oh boy, that was a long. It's a circuitous path. So, like I said, been working in comics for about 25 years, and how that happened was I was happily working in radio and got laid off in a round of layoffs. I was, not senior, so I got the boot. And that left me with a lot of time on my hands while I had unemployment. I was hanging out on the internet, and I was hanging out on message board forums because I like to keep up with comics, but I don't have a comic shop within, a long, a couple hour drive. So I was keeping up with comics by just chatting with people on message boards in the early 2000s, and got to be friends with a bunch of them. And we're doing instant messaging, AOL Instant Messenger, the precursor of DMs and all that such. We were having a big group chat talking about the comics of the day and how many people were complaining, these books suck. We could do better. Somebody said, well, why don't you guys put your money where your mouth is? So we did. A group of us got together. We did an anthology, put together an 80-page anthology, and it came out. It did, all right for a black and white book with, no names attached, outside of Chuck Dixon and Denny O'Neil, the opposite sides of the political spectrum coming together to give us a hand. Anyhow, we did the anthology, and it turned into a small press company. We did another 5 or 6 issues of the anthology. We did a couple of one-shot comics, and then we also did a mini-series, Children of the Grave, which was the first work of Tom Waltz, first comic work he'd ever done. And after Children of the Grave came out, IDW was interested in publishing a collection. And he got on really well with the folks at IDW. Eventually, they offered him a job as an editor, and he really liked the silly independent comic book that I did at our little small press company. So he offered me a chance to do some work on an anthology, and then that led to a book called Nanivore, which was a toy tie-in, and then A-Team, and then Ghostbusters. And then by that point, when Ghostbusters hit, they had gotten the license for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Tom got on writing with that, and because I was writing Ghostbusters and he was editing me on Ghostbusters, his editor got a decent impression of my work and offered me the chance to write one of the first non-Turtles microseries, the Splinter microseries. So I got to write that, and that went real well. So he teamed me up with Matteo Santaluco to work on Secret History of the Foot Clan, and then it just kept going from there with, more Turtles assignments every few months or every couple of years, as they found space for me to have some fun with the project, and eventually that led to doing what we did with the Saturday Morning Adventures. Actually, there was another branch into that, and that was Dan Schoening, who I worked with on Ghostbusters for many years, and Luis Antonio Delgado, who's well known to Turtles fans now, thanks to Last Ronin. Dan comes from animation and is amazing at following models. So we did the real Ghostbusters crossover with Ghostbusters, and then we did the Ninja Turtles crossover, and then we did the Transformers crossover. And they're like, man, these 80s cartoons are super on model. We should, do a G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventure that's on model. And we did that. And the success of that led to, well, why don't we do a Ninja Turtle one? Dan wasn't available to jump into the Ninja Turtle one with the miniseries. So Tim Laddie drew that. And then when that went over real well and the opportunity to do the ongoing came around, Dan still wasn't able to do it full time, but he did join the rotation. So now I get to work with Sarah Meyer, Dan Schoening, and Jack Lawrence, along with Luis. And it's yeah, I mean, that is a long answer to the short question, but like I said, circuitous path. It really wounded, and the roads led to Turtles.
And so, and because you've been able to write in like quite a few different like versions of TMNT, and also the upcoming Tales Forever crossover sort of, like is it like quite hard to like sort of like get into like mindset of like each universe, or is it like quite easy?
Well, the way I follow it, and it wasn't always this way, but as the longer the Turtles have existed, the more that they've tried to make consistencies happen. So when the 87 Turtles came out, there was that cartoon and there was the Mirage comics. Later, there was the Archie comics. They could not have been more different. But since Nickelodeon bought the Ninja Turtles and other things have come out, they've over the years consistencies have come up. How Raphael acts now might not been how he acted in the 87 show, but you will see him be a little bit more, especially since 1990 in the movie, you'll see him be a little bit more brash and temperamental because people know that. And once more people know it, they like to keep the consistency. It's a brand management kind of a thing. But so now it's just sarcasm, maybe a little bit of a temper with Raph, maybe not always with the 87, but sarcasm and temper and a little bit of ready to fight is what has been boiled down to his defining characteristics, and they like to get that across any media with the Turtles. Donatello is the nerd, Leonardo is the leader, Michelangelo is artsy and loose with his mood. He's laid back is the word I was looking for. And so they've built it all together, and stuff comes along. Okay, this is a great idea. It's going to be part of the Turtles lore forevermore. Now, in 87, there wasn't a whole lot of Splinter calling them his sons, but since in the 30 some years since, he is absolutely considers himself a father figure, or sometimes literally a father to the Turtles. And so, I mean, that's the thing that they want added to all the stuff, my sons, not my turtles or my students as much, even though back in 87, when the Turtles were only 4 years old as a franchise, weren't even a franchise, they were an independent comic book. It wasn't quite the same thing. But like I said, stuff grows, and when you find something that works, it sticks, and you spread it around. Now, to get back to what your question actually was, since there are those consistencies, that's the guiding star that you look towards for writing the Turtles. Michelangelo, the kind of stuff he can say, or Raphael, the kind of stuff he can say or do might vary from version to version. Last Ronin Michelangelo and 2012 Michelangelo don't seem like the same character, but technically they are, and you will find character consistencies that fit both versions of that character in that character. So, I mean, that's all you got to do is look for the guiding North Star, the points that has grafted onto the Turtles and become who they are. It's consistent now across all the franchises. and then you just tweak to get the stuff that's unique to each iteration, the Cowabunga versus Buyakasha, or what have you. And you tweak those details as necessary, but everything else is very similar, and that makes it easy to hop tones.
So with the IDW comics, because most stuff you've been writing is like miniseries and stuff like that, and sort of like with events, like is it like quite easy to like be caught up to date with write with on a I think like the alliance, like the Armageddon Alliance was like a good example of what I'm trying to say. Like, is it like easy to like be caught up to date with all that while not actually being like still in that universe? That makes sense.
If I'm going to see if I understand your question. Keeping up to date with like what's going on in a big crossover. Is that what you're getting at?
Um,
Yes. Or,
is it
or
like easy to like write for the RW universe
Mhm.
while not actually while having to keep up like and trying to be like keep up to date with all the current comics?
Oh, I see. Okay, no, I misunderstood the question. All right. It is and it isn't. I mean, like I said, I don't live near a comic shop, so that makes it a little harder. But the editors there um, make it real easy. They keep you up to date on everything you're going to need. So if I was doing something and that contradicted something that was in a story that I missed, they'll tell me. If it doesn't matter, they'll tell me and say it's fine. You can continue with what you're doing. If it does matter, they'll say stop, change this immediately. And there's the IDW editors like that, and then there's also our liaison at Nickelodeon, who is he is so knowledgeable about the Ninja Turtles. So he might say, actually, this was, so and so in this issue, but also in this episode of this series of TV. And, so you might want to do that. But what you could do, and then he'll throw out several options that that would work as a replacement. So there's nobody goes into this alone. Nobody goes into this having to remember everything. Thankfully, outside of the editors and outside of Nickelodeon and the very, like I said, super knowledgeable people there's also an ungodly amount of information on wikis. So if I'm not sure, I can ask. I can hit the Google, and if I don't find what I'm looking for there, and just forge ahead because of deadlines or whatever, and I get it wrong, there will be people there to correct me. Now, this is a thing that has sometimes it just this is train of thought. Now, sometimes I will see fans talking about, well, why did you do this? I would have done this. This is wrong. This is completely no. Well, see, sometimes there are things that come up that necessitate us changing things. For example, there might be like a super obscure Z level character from the cartoon that I want to reference, and Nickelodeon, for reasons that maybe they're legal reasons, all the companies that go into making TV shows, they don't want to use that character, so they're like, no, you can't use them. And so you don't use them and you change it, or some detail comes up that they don't want to use or can't use for whatever reason. And then you'll get stuck with fans. Well, why did you get this wrong? This is everybody knows this. I would have done it a different way. Well, no, see, you wouldn't, because I wasn't allowed to. You wouldn't be either. There's just there's a lot of people making sure that things are done the way it needs to be done. And legal questions can and do come up. There are weird little rights issues on everything, and there's also, just like I said, the brand management from before. Sometimes somebody decides, okay, X is not going to happen anymore. From now on, it's going to be Y for whatever reason. And then, somebody with a lot of knowledge says, well, what happened to X? X was supposed to be here. X is what it is. This is wrong. Things have changed. I mean, so that's a long way to say, get around to saying that people make sure the people who are in charge make sure things is done the way they need it to be done for the purposes of their business. And I am corrected. So nothing that gets to print is not the way they want it. What was it like to write for both of the Ghostbusters crossovers? Well, okay, so like I said, I was writing Ghostbusters, and Tom Waltz was my editor for Ghostbusters. Tom was writing Ninja Turtles. So the first time I went to San Diego Comic Con, and I was hanging out with Tom, and it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were having a couple of beers, and we were chatting, saying, it would be fun. This is in 2012. It would be fun to cross these two over. They're both were the franchises both debuted in 1984. It's two groups of four guys who have incredibly similar personalities. They're both sets of New Yorkers. They both, blend humor and science fiction and adventure. This would be a fantastic lot of fun for us two as writers to mush together and have some fun with. And then it took, a couple of years to convince Nickelodeon to agree to it. And it was exactly what we hoped it would be. It was a lot of fun, and we loved it to pieces. And the only one single regret about the crossovers is that we wanted to make it a trilogy, but Nickelodeon didn't want to do too many crossovers in one year. So uh, the third Ghostbusters crossover kept getting delayed for stuff like Batman or what have you. And then eventually the rights to Ghostbusters, IDW let them lapse, and or something else happened there. And also I think Sony wanted to focus on the future of the Ghostbusters franchise, with the new movies and the new cast, and not so much with the iteration that took place in the 80s. So we might not have been able to get permission to do a third one anyway. I have no idea. Anyway, the point of it is, um, that was the only downspot. The rest of it was just pure fun, and it was canon to the Ninja Turtles series. The stuff that we did in there happened and progressed their story, and we made sure that the crossovers mattered for the books, which made it even more fun for us as old school fans who loved when a crossover, even an intercompany or an inter property crossover. This is technically an intercompany crossover. It had an unbelievable amount of things had to be worked out across in the back, even being at the same publisher. Because I mean that's Nickelodeon, Paramount, and that's Sony. I mean, they had to agree to all the terms. If there are new characters, who owns the new character, all that stuff. Incredibly complex. But as far as my point, longer answers because you know because all this stuff is occurring to me. It was just I'd rather say all that than it was fun. It was fantastic. I had the best time of my career writing this kind of stuff, and I would love to do more of it, which is the what I could have said.
And I would like to say just like a big thank you for putting Darius Dunn in it. That's all I've got to really say about that. Just thank you so much for doing that. um, so
Now,
um, so with the Sam Morning Adventure stuff, was you like quite surprised by does it like how much like people really enjoyed like the first miniseries?
I was so happy that they did enjoy it. I mean, you go into every project hoping that people will like it, hoping that people will connect to it and will enjoy it, and scared like crazy that they won't. And there's always going to be the people, the spoilery people who are like, well, this I can't stand. Their fandom is complaining or discord or dislike, so they'll come in and say, well, this is just garbage. I wouldn't have. This is not how I remember the show. Well, maybe you should check your memory. Some of these people I want to say, because the show was pretty. They didn't break the fourth wall. Oh, yes, they did. They didn't do this. Oh, yes, they did. It wasn't silly. Watch the later seasons. I once got into an argument with a guy who said it wasn't actually on Saturday morning, and I said it was syndicated for 2 years, and then it went to Saturdays only. Well, you just want to ashamed to admit that you're wrong. Okay, buddy. I mean, though there's that crew, but that is like 10% of the audience, and the other 90% have embraced it and loved it. And the thing that I love, the thing that we all love, Sarah loves it, Dan, Jack, Luis, everybody, kids are, we see them at conventions. It's not just the folks who watched the show 30 years ago when they were kids, having fun, with the nostalgia. Kids are finding it sometimes because their parents were fans, and sometimes they're finding it on their own because, hey, it looks fun. And they open it up and they see some jokes that are over their head. And they see some jokes that are just super juvenile and aimed square at them. And if they see a pun, that they don't recognize. That's what the dictionary is for. That's what I did when I was a kid. So I mean, I'm paying it forward. I'm not going to talk down to the kids, but it's it, there's a glow. Parents like the or older fans like the nostalgia. Kids get a kick out of it being aimed at them. Uh, Parents who were fans of the Turtles enjoy having something that they can share with their kids and both get a different kind of a kick out of. And that's what we've been getting back. We've been getting pictures, we've been getting fan art, we've been getting letters, and it's so fantastic. I mean, honestly, that kind of reaction is why people tell stories to have folks get joy out of them or get feeling out of them. And as much as I dislike, the folks grousing over something and saying, this sucks, even that is better than complete ambivalence and ignoring it and like whatever. I don't even care to read it. Meh, you know. But like I said, it's been to our good fortune that so far it's been largely positive, and I'm so glad. We're all so glad. We're so happy that it's been taken that way. So yeah, no, feels good.
Last year you did an interview saying that you want to include Usagi Jimbo, and now they've been given the opportunity. What's that feeling like to write for him?
Oh, I didn't know this at the time. It was just something that our Nickelodeon guy, our liaison, wanted to see a crossover. And of course, for folks who remember the cartoon, there was a really big um, on a plot that was left loose, the plot dangling thread. Usagi was just stuck in New York. He didn't get to go home. he he was there, and it was just, and that's where they left it. They showed him getting trapped in New York. They did one other episode and then nothing more with Usagi. So that became the thing. It was like, well, we should send him home. That would be the right story to tell. That would be the perfect story to tell. And I was excited to do it. And then I found out after I turned in the first script, or the first draft of the script, I don't think anybody else has written a comic book crossover between Usagi and the Turtles who wasn't named Stan Sakai. So I got super super nervous. I mean, I was I started, pacing like, oh God, what are they? Because Nickelodeon has to approve it, and so does Stan. That's how it works. IDW says yes, and then Stan and Nickelodeon both have to say yes. And so I was sweating bullets, scared that he was going to say, "You're doing my boy wrong. This is not how I want Usagi to be portrayed." And happily, he approved it. He didn't have any major story notes. He did have a couple of art notes that he wanted to make sure that was done right. And I did the one thing that I did for myself, given the deadline and everything, was I leaned away from doing too much with his mythology. I didn't want to I didn't want to delve too deep into it, so I wouldn't, there wouldn't be a whole lot of pages of notes of all the stuff that I got wrong or misremembered or didn't work, even though it's sort of a different iteration of Usagi. I mean, his name in the '87 cartoon is Usagi Yojimbo, and I did not Miyamoto Usagi. I did put a note in the comic about that to the fans before you get mad at me. This is how it was in the cartoon. Anyway, it was Usagi was one of the first two Ninja Turtle toys I owned back in the '80s, and I loved the character. Thought he was super cool. I've gotten to read the comics here and there, and loved what Stan has done with them. And this is obviously a super different thing, but the weight of the franchise, two franchises, and being, the first one to do something in comics uh, of this scale, it made me nervous. I'm super. I just saw last week. I saw the proof. Jack Lawrence's art. It's gorgeous. It turned out great. The story works, I think, and I'm really excited for people to check it out. I'm proud of it. Nickelodeon and Stan are happy with it, so I'm now it's just down to whether the audience will like it. But I mean, for myself, I was elated, then freaked out. It's like I'm working through the stages of grief almost, in a different order. But I had such a good time writing this crossover and playing with this character, and I hope I get a chance to do it again. I don't. If I never do, this is satisfying. This is enough. But if I do get a chance to, it'll we laid some groundwork to allow for the possibility of a future crossover if they like the sales and if they decide they want more. If they decide to let us do more, we've got the story room. But if they don't, I mean, I can't complain. It was an honor getting to do this, and I hope everybody enjoys it as much as I eventually came around to feeling after the nerves went away.
Um, so, and going off that, is there any like other characters you want to like bring into the comics?
Yeah. No, no, there are. I already got in to bring in Ace Duck, and we played him more Indiana Jones because I mean all he's been in the '87 cartoon was like a split second clip on a TV screen. He was a movie they were watching, so I can pretty much just go ahead and say either that was a other dimensional version. The other dimensional version, their dimensions version of Ace Duck is a movie character, or I can just say ignore it completely and say, that never happened. You can just go ahead and forget about that. We're retconning it. It's not there, and this is actually Ace Duck. But I had fun writing him and giving him a more of an Indiana Jones vibe. But yeah, no, I it's tough to say without spoiling because there's at least one character that I wanted to bring over from IDW. I asked a long time ago if there was any of those characters that were off limits, and they said no. Um, and so I did sneak a couple of them in, and I'll give the hint without saying the character or characters, maybe I should say, because the solicit has already gone out. We are doing the one of the concepts from Ninja Turtles that never appeared in 1987 was the Pantheon.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to bring the Pantheon into 1987, and the difference. I mean, they were straight up literal gods in the Mirage, animalistic gods. They were similar, but also a family in the IDW version. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the Pantheon, but given the universe that we're working with, we're not going to make them not even in quotes gods. We're going to make them a crime syndicate, an intergalactic crime syndicate. And all of the characters are characters that have been seen in Ninja Turtle franchise cartoons and or comic books in the past. Um, it is definitely a different spin on all of them, and I'm not entirely sure what folks will expect. I don't know when the interior art for these is going to be leaked out or seen, but it's coming up real quick. It's the next storyline after the Olympics. So 15 and 16, I think, is when the Pantheon are coming out. And so it'll be real soon when people discover who's going to be on this list. And I'm fighting myself because I so want to say. I want to spoil, who at least one of these characters are, and I'm just going, well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't say who is showing up in the Pantheon. Um, but I mean that's really why the babbling is happening here because I so want to talk about it, and I'm so excited to get these characters in there. And again, they're all characters you've seen before, but different spins on them in this Pantheon. And oh, it's killing me. Anyway, I'll keep quiet. I'll keep quiet, but I want to say.
I hate that tease.
I mean, I know I want to explain it. I really do, but they're like, but maybe they'd rather be surprised when they open up, in the issue 15, the first pages, and oh no, there's, so But I will say there are characters from IDW's pantheon do appear in this pantheon, so I'll give that as kind of like a compromise. So if you look at who's in IDW's pantheon, not all of them will show up, and they act, you know what? I'll do one better in issue 14. In issue 14, before the pantheon story starts, there is going to be one of the pantheon is going to appear in that story, one of the new pantheon, and because the Rat King is traditionally part of the pantheon, both in IDW and Mirage, but the 1987 version of the Rat King doesn't quite make sense. We do have a Rat Queen, so that's what we're going to be bringing in. She's gonna pop up in issue 14. So she'll be the first member of the pantheon that people see, of this criminal pantheon that people see. And you know what? Another of the pantheon. I'll tell you what. Another member of the pantheon also appeared in the April special. So there's an Easter egg. If you guys go back and look in the Easter special or the April special, you'll see the Easter egg. Another member of the pantheon is there right on the page, and it's not one of the geese. Okay, it's not one of the geese.
I'm starting to hate this interview now.
Well, I mean, it's easy. People who have the April issue, they flip through and look and see and pour through the backgrounds and see if they can guess where this secret member of the pantheon is. Ah,
Okay, moving on.
I'll tell you what, it's Scratch. You remember Scratch? It's Scratch. Scratch is the other member who appears in April.
Because like, recently you've also been bringing like stuff from like other versions of Tolls into the 87 universe, such as like TSRI
Mhm.
and just a few other things. And like so what's that like bringing like other stuff from other Tolls into this version that like we now got to see in the cartoon?
Well, I mean, like I said, part of that is because of the brand consistency that I talked about earlier. How they like, okay, this thing is is now ingrained in the Turtles franchise. Maybe it came, maybe they thought of it later. You know what I mean? Maybe, X concept has been thought about, maybe 20 years into the franchise, but it's something that people are find so popular that they can't imagine the Ninja Turtles without it. And so that's why some of this stuff comes up. And Nickelodeon will very much say, all right, you know what? In the 87 cartoon, they only ever used a nickname one time. In the Usagi Yojimbo episode, Raphael says Mikey to Michelangelo. That's it. That's the only time there's been nicknames. Ever other than that, it's always Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo in full. But since then, Raph, Leo, Don, and Mikey have become just a part of the franchise that it's inescapable. It's everywhere. It's in every other iteration, and people, um, it's weird to not have it. So stuff like that. It just that's part of Nickelodeon. Say introduce it. You can introduce it slowly. You can work it in slowly, like we did that with the nicknames. We had them with their full names, and then just start slowly building up to them using the abbreviations, the shorthand, which is also really nice for lettering. It saves a lot of space on the page, but 3 letters versus 8. Um, but that stuff they want it included, and TCR is an example, TCRI rather. The nicknames, certain characters, certain elements. It's all like I said, it's a matter of keeping the franchise consistent across every single iteration, and it's fun. I like doing that. I like being giving the challenge. In some cases, it's a challenge to introduce stuff that is commonplace to the Turtles now, but wasn't necessarily in 1987. Through the 90s and all that stuff for this particular version. Um, it is It's fun. It's really, I can't think of anything else. It is a fun part of the job, getting to try to figure out how to fit this, you know, piece of another puzzle that has a different color but is the same shape into the puzzle that is the 1987 Turtles. I enjoy it, and I like that they give me stuff to add in. I also like that they have let all of us add things in that that weren't there. I mean, new ideas. They allow us to bring ideas to it, and some of those ideas have a potential to leak over to other parts of the franchise now. And I super, that's a lot of fun. That's the most fun thing about playing in this kind of sandbox. This big sandbox that has a ton of different corners, a ton of different iterations, is that anything that we do, we were talking about the issues 9, 10, 11, the sword of Etiku, the big, the three-part finale to, Shredder looking for the sword. We talked about, can Shredder have a car? Initially it was like, can it be like a Shredder van? And Dan didn't want to draw a Shredder van. Dan wanted to draw a souped up hot rod with, fins and all this stuff. And I'm like, Dan, that is that going to fit everybody? That looks like a two-seater. No, it'll be fine. Um, but we came up with that, and Nickelodeon's like, okay, hey, no, this is great. We're going to show this to the toy guys, and maybe the toy guys will make something of it, and maybe they won't. Maybe they'll say, this is cute, but we don't care. But if it becomes a toy and it gets that cachet, maybe it pops up. Maybe it pops up on a cartoon. Maybe it pops up in a video game or a board game, or is a background Easter egg joke in a movie, or in the IDW run of the comics, or in something else. And just using that silly car as an example, that's how this kind of cross pollination works. So it goes both ways, and it is something that I love about comics, that we can bring stuff into this version of the Turtles and have a different spin, and give it a little bit different energy, and see how that works and that plays. And it's a new toy to play with. And also the toys that we build in this sandbox can be taken and played with by others. And I mean, it's just wonderful. We all love this. Anybody who says different, who's taking an eyebrow away, don't believe them. We love playing with the toys in this fashion and making toys for others to play with.
Okay, well, so talking about the um Idikutu trilogy, um,
Mhm.
with that you brought in a very big playset, shall we say? What was that like? Because I know in that fandom is quite a big deal at the time.
Mhm. Oh, is the technodrome is what you're getting at? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what that was I said, okay, you know what? Well, he can cut through time and space. Why don't we bring in a future technodrome? And that's another one of those situations where Dan probably would have done this on his own, because Dan loves Easter eggs, and Dan loves finding references and sneaking new things into, or old things in new ways. He's done that for years. He's done it. If you look through our Ghostbusters run, you cannot find a page out of the thousands, hundreds and hundreds of pages that he drew. You can't find a page where he does not do this, and he does it in Turtles, to a lesser extent. But this was also our Nickelodeon guy. He said, "Oh no, it should be this one. Here's the picture. Here's the link. This is what needs to be used." And it's nothing. It's not a signal to anything. It's not currently meant as a signal to any kind of story that we might be in the future, but it's not that either. Right now, it's just an Easter egg, but it could easily in the future, we could say, you know what we should do? We should turn around and we should take this thing that we did, and we play it, spin it into a different story, where we incorporate this past stuff, and we do it that way. It can go either way. It can never be mentioned again, other than just being a cute Easter egg that fans go, oh, that's cool. Or it can turn out into a future story, and we have that kind of flexibility. And right now, there's no plans yet for anything, but again, you never know. We could get a note from Nickelodeon saying, remember when we did this? You should really do this, because I'd like to see this happen. And then we would say, okay, you're the boss. You're signing the paychecks. Let's do that. But it's these things, like I said, it's the toys. Half the time, bringing in stuff from other stories is just fun. It's just an Easter egg. It's just a thing that we get to do and have a little giggle over. And it can turn into more. It doesn't always turn into more, but when it does, it makes it feel part of a bigger tapestry. Either way we do it, whether it connects back or whether it's its standalone little patch, it's something that the uh, the audience, going forward can look go, okay, I see what you did there.
Well, speaking of more, I don't think you can really speak too much on this, but the other tales coming into the comics. Um,
Well, okay, so that got leaked, and we didn't want it to be. We wanted it to be a little bit more of a surprise than it wound up being, because it did get leaked, and we don't know. We all had heart attacks because we don't know who leaked it. And I'm sure they figured it out yet, but nobody told me. Anyway, there are a lot. You'd think it's Nickelodeon. They can say yes, and it's fine. But there are a lot of rules. There are a lot of rules that come from using those characters, any versions of those characters, and if they have future plans, whether those plans be in comic books or whether those plans be in animation or whether those plans be in something else entirely, if they have future plans, we are not allowed to contradict those plans. And so they will be meticulous in how we present something. So something like this could just as easily be absolutely what it looks like. It could be a dodge. It could be, it could be a time travel trick. It could be an interdimensional trick. It could be an illusion. It could be, an Easter egg that goes a different way than people are expecting. It could be a million things. And and so, I mean, this is a thing I heard someone say on a reaction video about a show. Um, and Speculation leads to anticipation. And it's not always the case. So people have speculated a lot of things about what's going to happen in this story. And, okay, it's clearly this, and it's going to reference this, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen. And then they're going to, do a nod to this. And those people are going to look at me, and if I do not do, if the team, if the story does not do everything that they've speculated, they're going to look at me and go, "You lied to us." No, you decided what was going to happen and you were wrong. Or if on the other hand, if they happen to be right, if they do guess what we're doing and they have figured it out, then it's like, you couldn't come up with a more creative story. I figured this out months ago, man. Why am I even reading this thing if I know what's going to happen? So one way or the other, I'm going to get yelled at in a couple of months. Either because I lied and didn't do what was expected, or because I did do what was expected, and they were mad that I didn't surprise them. But yeah, no, it's one of those things. There are so many rules that come in for using different iterations of the franchise, and it all comes down to they may be doing something 2 years from now, or even further ahead if it's animation. It could be a 5-year plan. And it was even worse. A story, given an example, I was writing some short stories for a magazine for Panini over in the UK a few years
oh,
ago for the 2012 Turtles.
yeah.
Yeah. And I had a panel where Donatello has a little hologram thing and he makes a Bigfoot. It is a one panel joke. And then I went off and I had some errands to run. I was running my errands. I was doing my thing. I got caught up in the day and didn't get back to my email for like 5 or 6 hours. There was almost 100 emails because if you remember, there was an episode of the 2012 Ninja Turtles cartoon that had Bigfoot. This cartoon was a year and a half to 2 years away from when I wrote this joke, but they knew that it was coming. So these emails, all these 60 some odd emails were arguing whether I could do the joke with Bigfoot, whether it was too similar or different enough from what was going to be done in the cartoon, whether it had to be, taken out at all because cartoon was dealing with Bigfoot. And you say that's kind of arbitrary, but that's how it works. So if something is coming up that they know down the line, and publishing runs, a few months to a few years ahead, animation runs years ahead. Say for the sake of argument, this is not something that's actually happening, but I mean, say for example that they were going to do a big theatrical movie that had like Spider-Verse that had every single thing from the Turtles, from the versions of the Mirage characters to the 1990 suits to everything. If say they were going to do a movie, it's set to come out in 2029. I don't know. If they knew that was happening, they would not tell me that that was happening. They would just tell me, you can't do this. Change it. And so yeah, it's just be wary. If you see anything in the series that's like, well, this is a weird way to go, it can be something like that. So just, grain of salt for everything Turtles related going forward. We're all under that restriction. They want the comics. The comics will take a back seat to other things. So
Okay, well that's good. But also disappointing about that, like now knowing that I'm definitely not getting into Toast Red movie even. Yeah.
I mean, I want to see this movie now that I've talked about it. But they, if they're making one, they haven't told me, and if they're making one, they definitely won't tell me now. But it's just an example of how of how much red tape can go into this stuff. So yeah, if you ever see a crossover and something seems off, it is because they put rules forth for us for whatever reason. They don't even need a reason. There doesn't need to be another project. They can just say, you know what, I don't feel like letting you do X. Come up with something else to make me say yes, or I'm going to say no. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see the reaction to what Sarah is doing in issue 13, though, because these two groups of turtles do fight. And I will give one spoiler. I've seen it happen a lot, or I've seen it come up a lot. Folks have said, "Is anybody going to mention how that there are 5 alternate turtles with Jenica, and there's only 4 of them? Is anybody?" Yes. Raphael is going to notice. Raphael is going to point it out and say, "Hey, wait a minute, this is lopsided. This is not fair." And Mr. Og is going to say, "That's not my problem." So there's your spoiler for issue 13. Og doesn't care. And I did think of the obvious argument, so everybody can relax.
That's amazing. So as you mentioned, with there's been some limitations. Has there been like any stories you wanted to do, or but any characters you wanted to put into the comics, or is it something you can't really say or talk about yet?
Um, we have a list of characters that are allowed for us to use. It's a big list, and the our Nickelodeon guy has his name's Jeff. I was just like, maybe he wants his identity to be kept secret. He goes through and looks for stuff that we can continually. He looks for us stuff that we are cleared to use. So um, there are characters from the life of the franchise that we're not allowed to use, and we're told up front, you cannot use this character. Um, for whatever legal reasons, he's owned more by this corporation than by this corporation, what have you. It is a thing that we are kept abreast of. So if there's a character that I want to use, I first look at the list of characters that are approved. And if I don't see the character on that list, I let him go. And and there are some I recently in a script I used a character name accidentally that was similar to one that we're not allowed to use. And it was a mistake. It was an innocent mistake. I wasn't thinking. I didn't think of the any of it. And I got a note back says, "No, no, you can't use this name." like, oh crap, it was a mistake. It was an honest mistake, but it was a mistake, and I corrected it immediately. But I mean, that's they do take that stuff seriously, and they'll let us know. So I have a very long list. There are many characters on the list that is approved, and the only downside is I only have, one or two issues a month, because sometimes we wind up with two issues a month. I only have so much space. There's not enough space to do as much as we want to, and we're also freshening it up a little bit. We are bringing in original characters. Um, so there are some villains that are new or some concepts that are a different spin. And I just finished writing the a couple of weeks back the story that comes after the Pantheon, and we have some original characters, a new original ally and a new original villain. We have those are going to be in that story. Um, and so yeah, so I mean, we're doing that too. It's if we don't pepper in some new concepts every now and again, uh we always say we do it just to keep people on their toes. They're like, wait a minute, this is no, I've never seen this toy before. This wasn't in the cartoon. What's this? And it's just something fun to keep things a little fresh. But we do have access to a long list. So yeah, there's to answer it. There's a bunch of characters that I'd like to get in there. Um, there's some characters that we just haven't found a space for yet. Ray Fillet, Man Ray. I mean, I want to get him in there at some point, and have yet to find a spot that I love for him. And there are some other concepts. I every once in a while I ask about a couple of Archie characters that would be fun to use, and sometimes they've said yes, and sometimes they've said no. And not because, some of them are like, well, no, this character is so cool. I want to see them, in IDW before we let you and your silly little humor book. But no, no. I make it sound like the folks in charge are overbearing. They are not. They are so great. They have given us so much latitude and um, permission to do, just about everything we wanted. The no's outnumber the yeses, or excuse me, vice versa. The yeses outnumber the no's by such a wide margin. It's not even funny. It's just, it's like a dozen yeses to one no. It might even be a wilder odds than that. It might be, 50 to 1. And you can't argue with that. It's fantastic experience to work in. Um, but yeah, no, so far, everybody that I really, 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 really had an itch to write is popping in. And the guy I asked for, the one I asked for, the character I asked for, like I said, Pantheon Arc, look for him. That's the one I was super excited to get into this world. And so a couple more months.
So, and a final question for Sam when adventure stuff. And do you like have you planned out like for like I don't know like have you planned out like how far you want to go with the like the series, or it's just like you like one story at a time and seeing where it goes?
The way it was they asked me after the miniseries, they asked me for a 1 year plan. So I gave them the 1 year plan. We've passed the 1 year plan. A few months back, they asked me for a year two. So we're just we're just now in the beginning of year two. I am currently on my computer. I'm on my desktop computer. I'm writing the script for issue 19. I think right now we're approved up through 30, maybe a little further. And knock wood, there it is. We we keep selling well and can go further, because I'd love to bring in the Triceratons are someone that I'd like to bring in year three if we get a chance. I'd like to bring them back. And but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I haven't there's some characters that were toys that had not yet been appeared in a story, even though they've appeared in other places. For example, Fugitoid, he has not popped up in a story in '87. He was in the toy line. He's been in other cartoons and other comics, but he hasn't popped up yet. So, I'd like to get him in there somewhere. Now that I think about it.
And because you have written for like quite a lot of stories, and I'm probably assuming that you've also like uh, um um, like you I don't know, like you given like a script and like trying to like set up like a miniseries or something like that. And like was there any like stories or anything like that like you wanted to do but like well sort of rejected?
Uh, there are a couple of things that they have told me no on. Yeah. Some of it was, we don't want to do this right now. It's not a no forever. It's a no for right now. I did want I did want to do a story with I think I wanted to do a Saturday morning adventure story and bring in Ninjara, and they said no, I can't use Ninjara yet. You know, I mean that was one. So I mean it's I think you know, it's one of those things where she's such a cool character. I think that's one that they, you know, might rather see a more serious take on, because nothing we would do would be anything. We'd be more similar to how she appeared in the Archie books. You know, I think they'd rather see something fresh, which would mean probably in the IDW line proper. That's me guessing, by the way. They didn't say that. They just said, you know, no to Ninjara for now. Um, no, I mean, for the most part, things, everything I have asked to do is has been approved, but they have given me notes, and it's been molded the way that that they're happy with, which is right and proper. That's how it should work. They're the owners. They're the ones to be pleased first. And you know, I'm trying to think of a big story that I've pitched, and I can't. The only thing, other thing that comes to mind is a crossover that I pitched that they told me no to, but not because they didn't want to do it, but because there was it was one of those situations where the other thing that I wanted to crossover with was doing a bunch of crossovers, and so they said we're not going to approve one more. So the turtles folks were fine with it, but the other thing was just like, no, not not this year. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. We'll see, but not this year. So I mean, you know, again, knock wood that you'll know it when you see it. If it ever happens, you'll definitely know it. And yeah, I don't want to speak to it, and just in case it never happens, and then people are like, oh, that would have been so cool. I know, it definitely would be. So I zip my lip.
Okay. So and because you've written so many issues over the years, and do you have like a favorite issue or like a story?
Um, Crossovers aside, I'm gonna take the Ghostbusters crossovers aside, because they were so dear to my heart. I think my favorite one, again, those ones aside, is the first one I wrote, the Splinter micro series. I got to write Splinter in a different way than he was traditionally seen, at least in the last couple of decades. He was more Raphael like than Leonardo like, I guess. Um, I got to write a story that showed their past as far as IDW is concerned, before they were mutants, when they were humans, and that also, you know, kind of dovetails into the Turtles in Time issue I wrote. You know, kind of one and the same, and those were with Charles Wilson. Drew both of those, and he also drew in the Ghostbusters crossover. He drew the scene where the turtles got to, because Ghostbusters, we bring ghosts. The turtles got to meet their mother. So those things that I did with Charles, the two one shots, and then that sequence in Ghostbusters Turtles 2, those are kind of near and dear to my heart, because they are, um, they're definitely part of the franchise, but they kind of stand apart in their own little pocket and are very, I was given so much support and allowed to do exactly the story that I wanted to do with all of those, less exactly the scenes I wanted to do in the case of the one with their mother. It just yeah, those three bits kind of combine into having the same artist helps into one little ball of favorite.
So, with the comics, because you write comics, but is it, do you, how much like, involvement do you have with the comics? Like in terms of like the artists and the descriptions and stuff like that. Is it just like you just write the comics and that's it, or do you help out with other bits?
I'm sorry, what? I didn't hear you.
Um, with the comics, because you write them, is it just that you like involved it or involved with, or do you also help with like the description, choosing the artist, or is it just the writing part?
Um, I have been asked a couple of times my opinion on the artist. Who would you like to work with? Do you have any suggestions? For the most part, the editor takes care of that because they have people that they want to work with. And I can't complain with the results. I've gotten to work with just a murderer's row of great people. They're great artists and they're great people. So down the line, I cannot complain. Um, but yeah, as you know, there have been one or two times when I've been asked, and that's been it. And sometimes my suggestion has been taken, and sometimes they're like, okay, we'll think about it. We'll add them to the pot. And it's that's and but I mean that's their job. That's the editor's job is to figure out who they want to draw the book, what kind of vision they have for it, and I mean that's their place. So I'll give input when asked, and if not asked, I'll just do my best to be somebody that the artist is happy to work with and doesn't walk away going, I never want to draw one of his scripts again. I hate him. Give me a voodoo doll. And I mean, and that's my place, just to try to be the best collaborator I can be, regardless of whether I have a say in the matter of who I'm working with or not. And again, like I just said, I can't complain with the results. I've only worked with great people.
And do you also like help and help write the descriptions, or is that the editor as well?
Oh yeah, so there's a couple of different ways to write comics. The one that a lot of people are familiar with because of the mythologizing is the Marvel method, where you write out a plot, the artist draws kind of where they want it to go, and then you go back in and you give the dialogue. Licensed comics like the Turtles have to be approved at every single step. So I have a plot idea. I give them the plot idea. They say okay, or they give me notes and tell me what they need to have me change, or they say no outright. Um, Once I get an okay, it moves on, and I have to write a full script. In the case of a full script, I have to go page one, panel one. Here's the description. Here's everything that's happening in this panel. Here's all the words. So somebody could read that script, and it wouldn't take a whole lot of effort to turn that into a short story, a prose story. It's got everything that needs to be there. I like to, especially when I'm familiar with the artist, I like to give them a little bit of leeway to draw things how they would like to draw it. So I don't try to get too draconian in the panel descriptions. I give enough for the editors and for Nickelodeon to know what's going on and be able to say, well, that's not how we want, or we like this. Continue. Um, the artist will get closer to bare bones in some scripts because I mean, if they can shave themselves a little bit of time by having no background, I'm not going to tell them to draw a background. If what's important is here's a picture of the person, they're frowning, and here's their dialogue, that's all you need. I'm not going to have them draw, oh yes, and I need a 18th century prison hospital in the background. Draw every stone, every cot, um, so I will write that, get all the information down. So yeah, licensed work is a little different in that way, that everything has to be there. It has to be full script. So yeah, I'm writing all the descriptions, all the sound effects, whatever. And then I do go back when I see the art and I see how they've done it. I will go back and I will sometimes cut out dialogue, or I'll add some dialogue if they give me a good facial expression to work with that suggests a funny line or a serious line. Um, so it is collaborative in that way. It's not quite as collaborative as as any situation where you don't need a full script. If you can give somebody a plot and work that way, creator own or corporate comics will they'll give you a little bit more latitude and that kind of stuff. But for this for licensed work, it's always 100% full script. So yeah, I am doing all that and getting everything on the page that the artist will eventually incorporate into the story.
So, and the final question is, who's your favorite turtle?
Well, I have a theory that people work through all the four as their favorite, or I guess all five now, as their favorite as they grow. They'll pick one when they start, when they first introduce to the turtles, this is the one that I like. And as you grow and mature into your personality, you might stick with that same one, but more likely you're going to go along down the line. And like many, like a whole lot, I did start out with Michelangelo being my favorite when I first introduced to the franchise. I'm like, this is my guy. I like Michelangelo. He's fun. As I've grown, now as I've started writing, as I've gotten to where I am now, it has become Donatello. And partly it's his personality, and partly it's because I come from Minnesota, which is a state that is very associated with the color purple for two reasons. One, because our professional football team, the Minnesota Vikings, purple is their color. Two, Prince. Purple is Prince's color. Prince is from Minnesota. We love purple here. And also, yeah, I mean it's just my favorite color in general. So therefore, just for having the proper fashion sense, Donatello is my guy. I like Donatello. But yeah, no, I do. The character has grown. In most versions of the franchise, they have a drier sense of humor. He does remind me of one of my own brothers in that way, and he's just it's I've come to enjoy how they've built out his character over the decades into the stereotypical nerd that he was when the first episode of the 87 cartoon came out to what he has grown into. I really like all the work that's been done on that character over the years and all the franchises. So yeah, Donatello. Okay, promote. Well, I will say we are in the middle of keeping it on topic with the Ninja Turtles. We are in the middle of Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan, which is me getting to work with Mateus Santaluco again. It's sort of a spiritual crossover to Secret History of the Foot Clan. And this has been an interesting project. It's gone an entirely different way than I first expected. When we had a group Zoom meeting to talk about the Armageddon game back in 2022, I said, what would be a lot of fun to do since Karai is going to be taking over the Foot, Shredder's going to leave. I would love to do a first mission with her in charge, just kind of like we're going to establish, do the thing. Just a small little, I was thinking maybe be a one shot, maybe be 4 issues, maybe be just something small. They liked the idea, and then it sort of spiraled from there. We need to get Mateus back. We need to make this into sort of like a follow-up. We need to make it bigger, and we need to make it bigger. And so it was going to be a smaller book with a smaller cast, and it was going to be just a straightforward ninja adventure. When Mateus came on, the expectations went way up. And it got way bigger and more characters. Casey would not, my initial idea, Casey would not have been in this. Half the mutants in the book wouldn't have been in there. But now that they're there, we made room for them. We came up with a new concept. We got a new version of an old character. We got a legacy in there. We've got since the books are out now, people know that the villains are it was the Dogstar Gang. Now it's the Dogstar Clan. The third issue is coming out in a couple of weeks, as I say this now. And we'll have so middle of April, excuse me, middle of May, this third issue will be out, and you will see a conversation between Yoshi-chan and Karai that kind of turns everything Karai thought she knew on its ear. And so you're going to get a whole new perspective. The title of the third issue is The Secret History of the Dogstar Clan, which I was really proud of. So I'm really looking forward to this third issue in particular getting out there. Mateus's art has been fantastic throughout. He really upped his game, which is saying a lot because he's already amazing. But I'm so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And next month, well, it's still April. In June is when the Usagi Saturday Morning Adventures crossover is happening. That'll be out in June. So I want people to run, not walk to the stores or to their iPads or to their Kindles and download the heck out of that. Because I'm really excited with what Jack did and how it looks, and I'm super excited for that. Other than that, I just I have got to find time to do some projects of my own, but I do have little bits and bobs, reader questions, and a comic strip that I do, a couple of times a week over at my Patreon, which is the only other thing that I got to publish. And there's the reader questions is something that anybody can sign up to and see for free or ask questions whenever a month. So I mean, there's no cost for that. If they're curious and want to ask me a question, head on over to Patreon, do the free sign up, and shoot me a question, and I'll answer it as I can. Uh, that is that is it. A lot of turtle stuff on my plate, and hopefully some more because I'm having a blast.
Well, yeah, and that's all the questions I have. Let's say again, thank you so much for doing this. This has
Oh
really
yeah,
meant a lot.
no, happy to. So,
Uh, yeah.
oh no, for some reason I thought you had another question, and I was just like, wait, was there another question? No, so I misunderstood you. But no, I was happy to join you and happy to answer some questions and so thank you for having me.
And thank you for making me hate you a little bit more now.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd rather you
A
hate me
few
through a
months will
conversation
pass.
than getting something wrong in the books. You know what I mean? Michelangelo frowned. You jerk! This does not happen. You're banished. Don't ever come to my side of the pond. I can see it all happening now.